Hi, Amel. Let's take a look at your new essays, shall we? This is about the traditional foods that are being replaced by fast food and the negative impact it has. Let's see what you said. Okay, remember how important it is to start with a capital letter when you start your sentence. So just a little typo there, but keep that in mind. So let's say, over the last 2 decades, there has been a trend towards eating fast food instead of homemade meals. Some people believe that this development is detrimental to our lives. I strongly agree that fast food, careful, that fast food is associated with serious health and social impacts to individuals and societies. This essay will discuss this issue using examples from the National Health Institution and Oxford University. Okay, capitalize Oxford. It's a title, it's a proper name, so make sure you put a capital there. All right, this is okay. It's pretty good. You did say that you strongly agree, okay, and you said that there are impacts. I thought this was a little awkward. You said, let's see, is associated with serious health. So serious health what? So health impacts? That's not really a collocation, and that's what my concern is here. And then serious social impacts. We don't, this too is not really a collocation as well. So while I absolutely appreciate the fact that you're trying to paraphrase the language in the prompt, and you should do that, I want you to aim for a little higher accuracy here, okay? So what else could you have said? Let's see. I strongly agree that fast food is associated with serious health issues as well as social impact on our society. Okay, you could have said something like that. I think I prefer impact in the singular rather than the plural. Let's see. Now the other thing is that here you're talking about individuals and societies. Don't forget that they've also asked you to talk about families. Now, if you end up talking about families in your body paragraphs, then it's okay. Um, but as an examiner, this would raise a red flag for me that perhaps you're not going to talk about families. Maybe you're just going to talk about individuals and societies. So that kind of perks my antenna up, and I'm curious to see if you are in fact going to do that. Okay, so fine. Let's see. National Health Institution. This word also probably should have been capitalized as it seems to be part of a proper name. So let's move on and see what you did with your body paragraphs. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that traditional food is more beneficial for people than fast food. For people's health. Hold on a second. Apostrophe S. The central reason behind this is that homemade meals are more nutritious and contain, careful here, you don't want an S, and contain more organic materials than fast food. This makes them easy to be digested and decreases body susceptibility to gain a lot of weight. Now, this expression here is a little awkward. It decreases body susceptibility to gain a lot of weight. It's just not how we would typically say this in English. What could you have said instead? Let's see. This makes them easy to be digested and lowers likelihood of unnecessary weight gain. Okay, that's one way you could have said it. Consistent with this line of thinking is the recent empirical research by the National Health Institution in the US. Careful with your grammar here. Which demonstrated that people who prepare fresh food at home have more ideal weight. This is awkward here. And fewer chances of having chronic diseases than those who are dependent on fast food. Okay, you can't say that they have more ideal weight. That's an awkward expression. Let's say people who prepare fresh food at home, on average, have an ideal weight and fewer chances of having chronic diseases. Yeah, I think that would be better if you had said something like that. On average, have an ideal weight. Okay. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that traditional meals are more advantageous to people's health than ready meals. Okay, so which of the three did you talk about here? It seems essentially that you were talking about individuals. Okay, so we have yet to see if you are going to talk about families and society. Let's see. On the other hand, although there is a case for some benefits of fast food to working people in terms of saving time and effort, the detrimental effects it has on health and family relationships cannot be overstated. All right. Now, I don't entirely agree that you should have brought this up here. Usually, when you use this kind of transition, it's because this is essentially a summary of something you've said in the previous paragraph. You didn't talk about this at all in your previous paragraph. So for you to just kind of throw this idea in here doesn't seem to me to be totally logical, because it's something that I think if you're going to say it, it really should have been explored. Okay. But you didn't explore it. And so since you didn't, it probably shouldn't belong here. Maybe you could have said something else. Why don't we try this? In addition to the impact on individuals' health, the detrimental effects of fast food on maybe society's health and family relationships cannot be overstated. Now, again, you see that I'm throwing in this thing about society because it's one of the areas you have to talk about. But let's see what you wrote. This is largely because fast meals are usually full of salt, fats, and preservatives, which are not entirely safe. Okay, don't put your full stop right directly after the word. For example, an extensive study by Oxford University, capital O, University showed that over 10% of young adults who have increased blood pressure, not increased, high blood pressure, and obesity eat in fast food restaurants. The increased percentage of sick people in societies is a huge burden to health care systems and governments. Now, I assume that this sentence is just further extension of this idea, but it does seem that it needs to be linked a little better. So maybe you should have said something like this increased percentage of sick people. And now sick people too is a little problematic because you're talking about people who have high blood pressure and people who are obese, but calling them sick doesn't really feel 100% accurate. Okay, let's talk about it a little more in a minute. I want to look at the rest of this paragraph though. Secondly, the value of eating homemade meals with the whole family at one table has been lost with the idea of ordering ready meals. This might lead, capital T here, this might lead to family isolation and weak relationships. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that fast food has serious impacts to our health and our lives. Okay. I did want this idea extended a little bit. So why do you think it leads to family isolation and weak relationships? I mean, if people are eating these fast food meals with each other, okay, they're not eating them alone. So why do you state this, that it leads to family isolation and weak relationships? Now, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that it's something you should have supported and you should have maybe explored a little more. Okay. So you did talk about family. That's good. So then let's go back to this idea because this for me was a little problematic. Now, you told us that 10% of young adults who have high blood pressure and obesity eat in fast food restaurants. Maybe you could have gone a step further and said that these issues also lead to further health complications like, I don't know, heart disease. All right. And then you could have said these increased percentages, okay, referring back to that sentence that I just kind of made up, in societies is a huge burden to healthcare systems and the governments. So that for me would have worked a little better. Okay. All right, now let's take a look at your conclusion. To sum up, despite the advantage of saving time to busy people that fast food has, then, okay, don't forget comma directly after the word. The negative outcomes it has on people and society should not be ignored. Government and individuals should take effective steps to revert the dreadful trends of eating fast food. Now, here again, you brought in this idea of saving time. My suggestion would be not to include this because you never explored it anywhere in your essay. Remember that your conclusion is simply a place where you want to wrap up your main idea, your main sort of thesis about this issue. And since you never explored the idea that fast food might have some positives, you don't want to do it in your conclusion. Yes, you talked about it super briefly here, but again, it was never an idea that you really explored. So I would say, since you decided to make this a one-sided essay, that you should have consistently kept just to one side. It's okay to have this as a one-sided essay because it asks you to what extent do you agree or disagree, and you said that you strongly agree. Okay, so there's really no reason why you would want to bring this in here. Now, having said that, there is a place for having a concession paragraph in these essays that are to what extent do you agree or disagree. You can do that, but you shouldn't limit this idea to just, one sentence in the beginning of the paragraph. Instead, you could have a whole paragraph that talks about this. So what that would look like is if, for example, you had said in your thesis, you could have said something like, I strongly agree that fast food is associated with serious health issues for families, individuals, and society. However, for working people, these provide a wonderful solution to a lack of time. And then you could have spent your first body paragraph talking about how fast food meals are so helpful and beneficial to people. So that's one way to do this. That's where you can have a paragraph talking about the other side of the argument in a to what extent do you agree or disagree essay. So in other words, you're saying that, yeah, on the whole, I think fast food meals are bad, but you know what? There still is some positive aspect to this. Okay, so that's how you can do this. Now let's take a look at this chart about car sales. Let's see what you wrote. The bar chart represents the sales of did I say car sales? Sorry, I meant shoe sales. So the bar chart represents the sales of 2 types of shoes in 9 European countries, the amount shown in thousands in 2018. To begin, the figure of brown leather shoe sales in France is triple that, get rid of as. Oh wait, what did you write? Is as triple. No, this is the wrong expression. Let's try it again. Is triple that of black leather at about 75,000 and 25,000 respectively. However, the amount of shoe sales for black leather without the slightly exceeds that of brown leather in the UK. Okay. In Germany, Ireland, and Holland, careful with your spelling of these countries, the brown leather shoes, get rid of the, are more popular than the other shoe type. Now, what's happening here now is you gave me figures here, all right? So I know France, and I know black and brown leather, but then you didn't really give me any figures, so I don't know what's going on in any of these countries. All right, you've told me now 4 different countries and kind of the preference for brown or black leather shoes, but I don't have any figures at all, and so that creates a problem. I can't really visualize what you're looking at. Okay, also I don't know why you decided to start with France. What was the reason for it? Is it because it was the first country that you saw here? If that's the case, that's not really how you want to approach this information. So when you see a bar chart like this, you don't just want to go left to right as if you're reading something. Instead, you need to make other decisions about these bar charts. So for example, if it were me, I would have started off with Hungary. All right, because it's the highest figure in the chart. I would have talked about Hungary. I probably would have talked, well, let's see, depending if I want to start with black or brown leather shoes. I mean, I probably would have done it differently, but I would probably then talk about Poland Okay, so that's another choice I could have made. There are a lot of different choices you could make here. But I probably would have started off with my high numbers, and then I would talk about my low numbers, and then I would kind of go to this middle group here. Okay, but again, always including data in these descriptions. Okay, but you definitely want to avoid this kind of going left to right. It doesn't really show any sort of critical thinking or any sort of analysis. It's better to go start with the top, and then you have two choices. You either go to the middle and then to the bottom, or you start top, then you go to the bottom, and then you go to the middle. Okay? All right, so let's move on. In Belgium, the difference of the amount of shoe sales for both types is surprisingly you don't say it's a far difference, you say it's a large difference. Around 20,000 for the brown leather shoes and 120,000 for the black ones. In contrast, the difference is not significant in Hungary and Italy. Okay. Yeah, but you still didn't tell us that important information about Hungary, which is that it has the highest figure of any shoe in those 9 countries. Regarding Poland, the figure for black shoe sales is half the figure for brown. Okay, just brown. 70,000 and 140,000 respectively. Okay. Overall, it is clear that black leather shoes are more popular in Hungary for the 9 countries, whereas is one word. Brown leather shoes are most popular in Poland. Also, Belgium shows the lowest sales figure for brown leather shoes, whereas is one word. France shows the lowest amount of black leather shoe sales. Okay. So let's see. This is, if I'm not mistaken, your first task 1 that you're writing for us. You had the right idea with some of the language you used, so some of the vocabulary you used, some of the grammar you used, all of that was fine. What I don't really entirely agree with is the way you structured your answer. Okay, so that's an issue of coherence and cohesion. And I also didn't agree with the fact that you really left out a lot of vital data. So, one of the things that's really important before you begin writing a task 1 is deciding how you're going to organize your data. Okay, like I said, you went from left to right, which I didn't think was particularly effective. What I would have done here, and of course there's not just one way to do this, but there are some ways that are certainly more effective than others. I would have divided my paragraphs: black leather shoes and then brown leather shoes. Okay, so what that means is that I would start off with my paragraph about black leather shoes. I would start off by saying that Hungary sold the highest amount of black leather shoes of all the countries, and in fact that this was the highest figure in the chart, and I would say what that was. I would then say that only Italy, or actually not only Italy, that Italy and Belgium also sold over 100,000 black leather shoes. I would say the least amount of black leather shoes were sold in France at this number, and then I would say that the remaining countries, and I would name them, all sold between 50 and 100,000 black leather shoes. Then I would do something very similar in my next paragraph about brown leather shoes. Here I've got the top number, Poland, all right, and then I would say these 3 figures here. I would then go to this lowest thing. I would also emphasize the fact that this is the lowest figure in the chart, because these are the things that really concern us, those highs and those lows. That's what we want to emphasize those. Okay, and then again I would probably do the same sort of thing for those middle numbers as well. All right, so that's one way to do this. Like I said, it's not the only way, but it's a way that I find is particularly effective. So go ahead, Amel, correct these, send us another set of essays. I'm looking forward to them, so good luck to you.